First, just want to see reaction. This is why every military needs the Javelin missile launcher. The channel task and purpose. Of course, they need it. Yeah, I've been watching this military style videos, channels like Task and Purpose recently, and yeah, Javelin missile launcher is one of the most insane tech we have today, just because how it works, right? I mean, if you like analyze all the technologies that we have today, and even the military uses, you think like, okay, Javelin is like top there, but it's not something like they would be like, okay, but just the function of it is so effective. Like, let's just say Ukrainians would have been screwed by now if they didn't have Javelin, right? You can say anything about Russian might or Russian weapons or Russian tanks, whatever, but without Javelin, all the destroyed tanks video you see, Russian destroyed tanks, wouldn't exist without Javelin. I think I think Russia just thought that US is not going to give them Javelin, at least not at that number. They just assumed that probably. All the newer tanks like T-14 or anything that come after that probably will have something that is like anti-missile technology, like something that shoots out of the tank, destroys upcoming projectile missile and saves the tank. Those kind of technologies is like upcoming. Old tanks don't have it, like T-90 or something, as far as I remember. So Javelin, the way it works, the way it attacks from the top, that's it. Like you're not gonna be saved after that, which is insane. Javelin's insane. I watched the real engineering video on it. So yeah, let's watch Task and Purpose of it. Remember, if you like my Ericsson, don't forget to subscribe. So that way I know which type of videos to react to more. I like things like this, like technology and all this, like military equipment and things is always good. Technology is always good that in the future something from them is going to trickle down to everyday use somehow. You're not going to know it, but it will be. And when you realize like, oh, this started as like a defense thing, it's always surprising. Let's watch this one.
How's it going, Spare Parts Army? I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy, here to examine my top favorite infrared guided anti-tank missile and my 11th favorite Olympic sport, the Javelin. The FGM-148 Javelin, for those of you who don't know, is America's predominant man-portable guided anti-tank weapon. It uses infrared tracking in order to guide itself to the target, making it not only easy to use, but highly effective and accurate against enemy armored threats. So what kind of DARPA space magic makes this thing work? How is it used on the modern battlefield? What are the pros and cons of using the Javelin versus something like the AT-4 or the Carl Gustav? And why didn't my squad leader ever let me play with one? So lock on to that like and subscribe button for a top-down attack, and let's move out. The Javelin started its life as a replacement for the M47 Dragon anti-tank missile. At the time, the M47 was an effective platoon or company-level system capable of taking down almost any Soviet tank with a well-placed shot. Its biggest drawback, however, was the requirement that the launcher had to keep line of sight with the target in order for the missile to impact accurately, in the same way that the TOW missile operates. So that's a downside. Basically, this means whoever's firing the M47 had to remain exposed until the target was hit. Now, I'm no doctor, but the idea of standing out in the open while an enemy tank stares at me for prolonged periods of time seems like it might be bad for your health. The Javelin, on the other hand, is famous for its fire and forget ability, meaning once the missile's out of the tube, the shooter can fall back behind cover or prepare a second round to shoot.
Yeah, seriously. I saw the real engineering video and said like, oh, this is really complicated, and the people told me in the comments, basically who operated this, like it's kind of like easy. It training, it becomes a thing that you use, which is like, okay, surprising to me, but like I can see that kind of like. Even though it might be complicated, if you like train for it enough, yeah, it'd be easier from there. Javelin is just insane, right? All the technology is insane. The way the seeing cluster thing is also insane. It can like you can remove that from the weapon itself, use it on its own. Like modularity of it is also good.
Once launched, the missile guides itself to the target, either using a direct attack or top-down attack, and it's able to correct its own flight path to the objective. Even though the forget part is crucial for its tactical application, that's never the case in real life, is it? Every soldier who actually gets to shoot the Javelin constantly reminds you how they went to the Javelin course. Prototype development began for the Javelin launcher in 1989. But don't hold your breath just yet, because it would take another full 5 more years till 1994 for it to go into full-scale production. And then another 2 for it to finally reach its first American units in 1996. The Javelin itself is composed of 2 separate sections. You've got your 14-pound Command Launch Unit, or CLU, pronounced CLU, as in you have no clue how big this explosion is going to be. The second part is the 13-pound Missile Launch Assembly. While the entire thing is substantially heavier than your AT-4 or your RPG, it's much more portable and has more uses than the heavy stationary tow system.
With 13 and 14, so 27 pounds, right? That's like 13 kilos or something, right? 13, 12 and a half kilos or something. Yeah, so putting that, I mean, I can see that it's not going to be that heavy if you carry on. If you want to carry something on your shoulder, like, I don't know about the firing thing, but yeah, carrying it, like, yeah. And especially like you're just, I'm guessing two people will carry it, I guess, two parts of it, and then suddenly like put together and attack and run away, because that's how usually like big weapons are being used or something.
While still providing reliable tank killing abilities. In fact, the Javelin isn't just meant for anti-tank, it's also an anti-helicopter feature. It needs to be fired in direct mode for that to work against helicopters, because if you use top-down attack on a helicopter, the rotation of the blades will actually interfere with the missile sensor targeting system and make you miss. The CLU is what the shooter looks through in order to acquire.
Hold up there. So those propellers are gonna deflect it somehow? I thought it would just hit the propeller, but even then it's like, yeah, job done. Propellers are done. Damage, so, helicopter's gonna crash now. But it's gonna deflect it. What the fuck?
Or the targets using any of the numerous zoom and fancy thermal imaging settings, giving it an effective range of over 2.5 kilometers today. So how do you actually operate the Javelin? All the operator has to do is connect the two-pronged latch to the missile, wait for the targeting system to reach the proper temperature, and it's ready to rock. Once the shooter visually engages a target, they switch to the seeker function. This function sends targeting information from the CLU to the missile itself, so they're in close communication. The Javelin uses a two-stage soft launch propulsion system. What this means is that a small initial rocket charge is ignited, sending the Javelin out of the tube and a safe distance away from any personnel. Then the second motor ignites. And this is the main motor that carries the munition the rest of the way. This two-stage soft launch system reduces the initial backblast area after firing, so it can be fired from more confined spaces without having to worry about giving everyone 30% disability for hearing damage. It also has the added benefit.
And I get it's a game. Yeah, I think it's also because of the pushback it gets, right? Recoil. Because something like that powerful, just suddenly starting from inside, would have a insane recoil of it. So yeah, this is good.
Of helping to slightly conceal a Javelin team, with most of the visible rocket exhaust released where the secondary motor ignites.
What is this? I don't know what
where
it is.
the actual team fired it from. So it's a sneaky, sneaky Javelin. Once the missile's in flight, the onboard navigation unit takes over, and it corrects the flight path based on any changes from the original target location. But how is it able to do such sorcery? Well, it achieves this by using the infrared signature that's given off the tank, or whatever vehicle you're firing at. This is why so many tanks today are working really hard to hide their IR signature, reducing it with paints and other different solutions. The missile stays locked on while maneuvering itself until it reaches the target. This means that even if the vehicle detects that it has an incoming warhead, there's not much that it can do about it. And with the Javelin's top-down attack ability, retreating into defilade wouldn't even help. A talented Javelin gunner can fire about 3 missiles within 2 minutes. I love how the camouflage net on this soldier's helmet looks like some kind of tactical mullet. All combat in the front and just a little bit of war crime in the back. One thing's for sure, the Javelin works so dang well that it causes geopolitical issues whenever the US military...
Look, 3 in 2 minutes is like you can attack 3 different tanks in 2 minutes, which is like insane. 2 minutes is nothing when you think of attacking. Like, I still remember that whole line of tanks that were coming during the invasion, right? It's like massive lines, kilometers long. This convoy was coming with tanks and shit. I can see how Ukraine is basically using Javelin rifle, just shooting, basically running away. Before the convoy can know where it comes from, those people are already somewhere else.
Military decides to sell these to a controversial ally. If you send a couple of rifles to Ukraine, it might not ruffle any Russian feathers, but if you send them a cargo ship filled with Javelins, well, they might see that as fighting words. So how is the Javelin used when it comes to battlefield organization? That sounds like an oxymoron, battlefield organization. Since the Javelin's not the primary anti-tank weapon in these units, they're often placed at small outposts or lookout points, covering space that armored vehicles can't see or simply are unable to reach. So it has a 4x optical zoom, a 4x green lit thermal zoom, and a 12 times narrow vision mode for targeting. The display on the Clue is like a miniature television set, and it's playing your favorite show 24/7. Bad guys go boom. The icons around the display give the gunner information about firing modes, conditions, as well as any malfunction indicators. When you look through the Clue, it has visuals that are way more enhanced than your standard optics that infantry use. So they serve as kind of a double purpose at these outposts, where they can do reconnaissance roles. It even has a pretty good battery life of 3 hours before needing to swap out their lithium sulfur dioxide non-rechargeable batteries. I actually went through the trouble of looking up how much these batteries cost, and I found out that they're about $150 each. So that would start to add up day after day. I don't know why we can't just make it so you can plug it in, even if it's one of those weird shaped European outlets. But it's useful because troops can use the thermal sights to report.
I mean, it's like if you're in war in battlefield, where like electricity might not be as easy you think. Coming like, where are you gonna charge it, right? And if you like give them to charge, you're gonna give them very less reserve batteries. Now the shit is going down, you're not gonna wait for it to charge. You need something fast. Let's say you're in an intense zone, 10 hours straight, right? Now every battery does 3 hours or something. Now you have to add up hours, like how many times you charge it, right? There might be multiple javelins, so it's like at that time, like thinking about cost is not like survival. So just like newer batteries is much easier. Rechargeable maybe, but it's like where you're gonna find the outlet. Maybe you're not gonna find it. Whatever reserve you have is like based on that you're gonna charge, and if you don't have a charger, you can't use your Javelin now.
On enemy movement, and provide harassing fire to a column of enemy tanks in order to disrupt them before they reach the main fighting force. This task is usually given to the most annoying soldier in the platoon, allowing everyone else to finally eat their MRE M&Ms in peace. No, Carl, I already ate the M&Ms, get out of here. You're probably thinking, when was the last time the US military actually faced off against a column of enemy tanks? What have all these soldiers been firing $100,000 missiles at the sides of mountains? And that's actually not that far from the case. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the Javelin was used for its pinpoint accuracy that helped hit exact targets without collateral damage because of its precise guided systems. They avoided unnecessary damage.
Overkill is not the word US have, right? You open a US military dictionary, there will be no word called overkill. Like, what is overkill? What you talking about? Does it kill? Does it kill more? Yeah.
Which would come with like mortars and artillery strikes. Many targets in the mountains of Afghanistan were too far away for an AT-4 or an M203 with its max range of 300 meters. A shooter would be able to destroy a fortified position without destroying the entire village it was in with this system. So the Javelin is of course not without its flaws. Who among us is without fault? First of all, it's not ideal for urban environments, with gunners needing to now think in 3 dimensions when firing it. So they have to make sure there's no wires overhead or street signs directly above them that would obstruct the path of the missile. I can barely think in 2D, and now you want me to add a whole nother dimension? The Javelin is widely expensive. You could buy about 37 used Toyota Camrys with that kind of dough. Part of the reason why it's so dang expensive is because of its small production run, which shares...
Yeah, seriously, it's like you need to have same mentality as people who like uses fireworks, once a year, when in festival we light up fireworks, always scan the sky. Is there any wire or something? You don't want to like hit that shit. So basically you need similar mentality. Is there anything wire? No, nothing. There you go.
There's very little parts in common with civilian items. There aren't many pieces on your fridge manufacturing line that can be cheaply swapped out and used on a Javelin missile, for instance. Its second major drawback is its weight, with the full weight of the missile and the Clue coming in at 49 pounds. But it limits the amount of other gear that you can carry, such as ammo, food, and water, stuff that's not very important. There's also the issue of the missile itself. They're more fragile as a whole. Any small branches, wires, or light debris between the missile and the target could be enough to disrupt the round. They just fired a Javelin missile at us. Don't worry, we should be fine. There's some fog and low-hanging parallel lines. If the Javelin missile is dropped just a little bit too hard, or if the person carrying it rolls their ankle and falls while on patrol, it's possible to make the round completely unusable before it's even loaded up. Way to go, you just dropped a $100,000 Javelin missile system into the river. This is why I don't pay taxes. The Clue and missiles each have internally cooling units that regulate the temperature of the system. Nocturnally, this should only take about 30 seconds, but in more adverse conditions like intense desert settings, it could take much longer. If it overheats, you're sitting there with a brick in your hands for about 3 minutes while it cools off. Advancements in armored missile defense have thrown some doubts into its capabilities. The jury is still out if APS can defend against top-down attacks. According to open source intelligence information about the system, these missiles reach a max height of 160 meters before entering a top-down attack. Direct attack mode reaches a max height of 60 meters before going straight at the target. As you can see from this graph, for all of you who know how to read graphs, show-offs. But don't count the Javelin out just yet. It's looking at upgrades as well. The improved clue system is 7.
I'm guessing this video is like, yeah, this is before all the Ukraine thing, because Javelin worked there. Javelin definitely worked there. It's like really worked. It's like all the newer technology, everything has like an asterisk on top. Like, okay, all the data say it should work, but does it work? Because there was no major war, especially with US and somebody else, right? Look at F-22. It's like great and everything. You shot down a balloon, it working as a bomber, but like, you know, it has never seen action. Many things has never seen action. So at least Javelin like properly seen action because of Ukraine-Russian thing, and we know it fucking works.
70% lighter, 40% smaller, and has a 50% longer battery life, as well as a slew of optical upgrades that will allow for longer range engagements, because in the past the optics were the limiting factor in ranging and engaging targets. But with these improvements, tests have shown that targets can effectively be engaged at over 4,000 meters. Recently, Ukraine has received hundreds of javelins due to the ongoing situation of Russia's military microaggressions, which would pit modern Javelin systems against modernly equipped main battle tanks for the first time. These engagements would inevitably push both systems to their absolute limit and could spur a new cycle of development on this weapon system. Let us know in the comments if you were.
Yeah, see, it has worked. The one thing is like, you know, you can say about T14 or whatever, like, is it good, is it not? Like the data is there, data is not there, this and that. Like all the evidence I've seen of T14 from the channel that Task and Purpose, like Pig and things like that, is like, we don't know. That's where it ends. Not that it doesn't do what it says. It's like we don't know type of way. And the thing with T90 is like how much, you know, T90 and other main tanks that are failing in the Russia-Ukraine war, that's gonna give Russia evidence and real-world data of how to prioritize what in the future tank. So the tank that might come after, whether upgraded version of T14 or the T14 itself or anything after that, will be like insanely powerful tank from Russia, because they know what to look for now. Russia-Ukraine war gives Russia that edge that they know what to look for in the battlefield going front. And like a lot of US equipment is also going to Ukraine, so they can like analyze based on that, like if we go to war against US, which things we should to look out for, right? So this is the thing, like if you don't see action for a long time, it's not good. War is not good. But if you, in this like defense military purpose, if you don't see action for a long time, you might not know what to do, what to go for. Now, Russia kind of has that edge now. Yeah, I don't know, it's weird to see it that way, but I guess it depends on how all this is going to end and which condition Russia is going to left with. But if Russia survives decent enough, financially and everything, 10-15 years from now, they might come up with a tank that might be really OP. I don't know. Alright, well, that was why every military needs the Javelin missile. Yeah, they do. This was on Task and Purpose. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you next time.